we'd spent the last 30 years kind of muddling around this thing and made no progress. Our herds generally break every year or 2 years, and I thought it's not going to hurt to try, at least to try to be better than what we have been. You've seen this map already, but obviously we're in a hog dense area. Most of this area is family farms, but some of these family farms are very, very large, and we do have small ones. We've got show pig guys. We've got a significant amount of pigs coming from Illinois, northern Iowa, and so forth. And looking at this map, obviously we're pig dense, but you probably can't see it, but all these dots have some letters in front of them. Those would be different systems. So it's dense, but I think what we're going to find as we go through this is the problem is that we've got people farrow on the north side of the county and move their pigs to the south side. We've got people on the south side of the county that move their pigs to the north side. We've got people in the middle moving them every which direction, every possibility you can think of. So when our south sites were originally built, they were pretty much isolated. Well, with manure value and people wanting to invest in this and that, what's happened over the last 15 or 20 years is we've put way too many finishers around our sow farms. So if anybody knows how we can trade finishers, let me know, because I think down the road, and that question was asked earlier, is down the road I think that's going to have to be part of our solution, because I think we just keep moving things back and forth, and a lot of these systems don't have a choice where they move pigs. If we keep doing this to each other, neighbor to neighbor, we're not going to make a lot of progress. Oh, another thing on this map, and just imagine you just pick a point right in the middle of that. It's a farm fairly close to Brenneman's, a sow farm. I went 4-mile radius around that farm, and in the last 11 months, there would have been 40 different pig sources going in that area. How do we collect, analyze, and communicate? This has been up there already. The only reason I put this up is that this looks pretty simple, and it works well, but me as a veterinarian, there's other things I have to do. It takes a lot of time, and if you get into something like this, you've got to make yourself some sort of spreadsheet to keep track of what you're doing, because you send tissues in or rope samples or whatever. You get back a positive, you've got to call the lab, get a sequence. You get a sequence. If you get the sequence, then you want to put it on your dendrogram, then you want to communicate all that with Sonia as far as site status change and the sequence. And then also there should be a line going from me out to other producers also, because if we have a problem in the area, we want as best we can to communicate that with their neighbors so everybody kind of knows what's going on. And so far, everybody's been real receptive to that information. I know I've talked to Adam, and you told me that it's nice to know what the neighbors are doing. A year ago, we wouldn't share that information. We treated each farm as its own. So a sow farm breaks, it's kind of secret, even though everybody finds out anyway, but you take care of that one and move down the road. Well, now when a sow farm breaks, I look at it as an area perspective. So if this farm is going to infect 15 sites, I look at where those pigs are going to be going and what's the significance to other sow farms. When this started, it was probably about this time last year, Doc Tim and the area veterinarians and some of the BI veterinarians got together, and we kind of wanted to standardize how we're going to test to some extent, and we also wanted to, what were our objectives for this program. Naturally, we want to facilitate and find the PRRS outbreaks in the area. That's usually not that difficult. We want to, there again, kind of synchronize interventions. So therefore, if we know that positive pigs are coming into an area, can we do anything to protect, especially our sow herds? Can we go through and revaccinate those sow herds? Use different vaccines. Some use killed vaccines and so forth. Maybe we can change the movement of those pigs. Instead of moving them, there's one good example. When this thing first started, we knew we had a positive nursery, and if we go back to those dots on the map, which again is confusing, but there was one site clear down south that we could dump those pigs at. Well, with that map being up there, we asked another producer at that meeting, what is that dot? And that happened to be their gilt multiplication farm. So obviously we didn't want to put them there because just for, that wouldn't be nice, but the other thing is we don't want to contaminate their gilt multiplication. It goes to their sow herds, then it all comes back to us anyway. And analyze the evolution of the prevalence or genetic diversity of this virus. And we hadn't sequenced a lot of finishers in the past, but now we are. And just recently, in the last 5 weeks, I've had 7 breaks, 4 sow farms, 2 finishers, 1 nursery, and there's no genetic diversity at all. It's all the same virus. And these farms are from India and 17 miles apart. No real relationship between them all. So, like I said, if we knew all the information, if everybody was involved with this, if we knew every sequence every week of every finisher, you could have a really good story. We can't afford to do that, but I could make a case that this virus came, kind of like I said, I think it might have gotten shipped to the south, and they got it and they shipped it back to the north. How do we change status? History, if we've tested a nursery naturally and we know it's negative, those pigs go to a finisher, and that finisher was previously positive, and we put negative pigs in, that's an easy change. And then, excuse me again, if we have a herd break, there again, that's not difficult to find a problem. And then regular surveillance, which was more of our topic of that meeting, to make sure we're all doing approximately the same thing when we're testing these herds. So if we have an outbreak, again, I'll probably just skip this, but it's pretty easy to diagnose. Sometimes it might take you a couple times, but usually if you have a major break, you're going to be able to find it fairly easily. Regular surveillance, this is more difficult. I don't have to worry about negative right now, so we'll go to stable, or negative vaccinated, positive vaccinated. What we're doing, or what we try to do in a non-vaccinated herd, test monthly, test 30 head. And we'll do that until we're assured, if that herd was positive, until we're sure that they're negative. In our original discussions, we said 3 months. That's not long enough. Actually, it's probably better to go to the nursery and let those pigs be commingled for 2 weeks. The problem with that is if it's common hall or hotel nursery, you can't do that. So you have to stay at the sow farm. But that's a better way of doing it. I've had one just this week that 4 negative tests, tested 30 last Monday, 1 positive pool. So I think it takes more sampling than what we probably do. But there again, there's cost concerns as far as how much testing you can do. Nursery and finishers, what we decided on was a rope per 1,000 head or per population. I'm sure all of you have had some problems with ropes like I have as far as getting a sequence. And that's a little bit frustrating that you spend the time, you go out and hang a couple ropes in a building, you get it back, it's positive, fine, request a sequence, you don't get a sequence. Well, now you've wasted 10 days, 2 weeks, and you don't know any more than you did before, especially if that would be in a vaccinated situation. But we've also had some non-vaccinated herds come back positive. It was kind of a surprise. We sent it in for a sequence, and it's vaccine. This vaccine tends to hang around a lot longer than I thought it would. This one particular herd, it was a sow farm in Illinois, is vaccinated in the sow herd. The pigs come up, we test them in the nursery, they're negative. Test them in the finisher, and 1 out of 2 of those tests will be positive for vaccine. We had an opportunity, I guess you could call it, when we kind of ran out of vaccine in a couple herds, so we were able to move full nursery rooms of non-vaccinated pigs, and I said, that's good, because I'd like to monitor those pigs and see if anything's happening in that nursery. And there again, we picked up vaccine in those pigs, which isn't a bad thing. It just keeps kind of confusing our tests a little bit. So like I said, rope per 1,000, if that's enough, probably not. But actually what I've started doing with nurseries and finishers, as I'm there watching the pigs chew the rope, I'll go pull a pool or 2 of blood. So that way, if it comes back an unexpected positive, then I'll have a better chance of getting that sequence out of the blood than I will out of the oral fluids. This is just kind of the dendrogram for the program for the last year. And I think, John Paul, these are pretty much all mine, aren't they? Pretty much. I've got several more to add, but it's one straight line. But this will be interesting over time to see how diverse this is. And on here it looks fairly diverse, but like I said, more recently it looks like it's going to kind of close down, at least for this year. Challenges, compliance. Like Tim said earlier, we're not getting everybody involved. And I think at the beginning of the project we thought, well, that's probably okay. Now I think we need to look at that again and try harder to get everybody involved. As far as the testing, nobody's complained yet as far as how much testing they've done or anything like that, so that's going well for now. Early cases when prevalence is low, as you know, that's sometimes difficult to detect those until they blow up. Vaccinated populations, like I said, the vaccine, the performance of the pigs with the vaccine has been very good, but like I said, as far as interpreting some of these tests, especially when you get a non-sequence, if you get a sequence back that's just vaccine, that's great, but you still don't know if there might be a virus underlying that. Continuous flow. You know, most of the sites are all in, all out, or approach that, but I still do have a significant amount of continuous flow herds. And you know, we've depopped nurseries in the past, and what's frustrating in our area is that we've depopped this nursery, moved Persian-type pigs to finisher, they crash. And so we get the nursery all cleaned up, and then 4 months later the sow herd breaks. And we're right back to where we started from. And last thing is cost of sequencing. That it does cost money, but I think if we want to make progress with this thing, we need to know what's going on in these areas. So.